Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Vritrasura's Glorious Death, verse number 12. Avidvanevam atmanam manyate nishamishwaram bhutai srijati bhutani grasate tani tai swayam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings. Purport. According to the conclusion of the philosophy known as Karma Mimamsa, one's karma or previous fruitive activity is the cause of everything, and therefore there is no need to work. Those who arrive at this conclusion are foolish. When a father creates a child, he does not do so independently. He is induced to do so by the Supreme Lord. As the Lord Himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Sachaham Hridi Sannivishto Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. I am in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who sits within everyone's heart, one cannot be induced to create anything. Therefore, the father and mother are not the creators of the living entity. According to the living entity's karma, fruitive activities, he is put into the semen of the father, who injects the living entity into the womb of the mother. Then, according to the body of the mother and father, yatha yoni yatha bijam, the living entity accepts a body and takes birth to suffer or enjoy. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the original cause of one's birth. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the cause of one's being killed. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent. The true conclusion is that the only independent person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, continuing with this chapter, the fight between Vritrasura and Indra. We are in the middle of the fight, and these are the words of wisdom spoken by Vritrasura, who is a great devotee of the Lord, but somehow, due to situations at that time, when he was, when he visited Mother Shiva and Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva, he was cursed to take, and because of that curse, he was born as a demon, Vritrasura, but otherwise he's a great devotee. So that's how we see such words of wisdom coming out from the demon, who's actually a devotee. So in this verse, these are his realizations, and he says, a foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Indra was actually not being able to understand that the weapon that has been given to him is by the Supreme Lord, and then if he just throws that weapon, he's going to win. But Indra was having doubts. So that's why he's saying like this. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself to be the supreme. Basically, in this whole verse, translation and purport, Vritrasura is saying that everyone is actually completely dependent on the will of the Supreme Lord. No one is independent. And anything that is happening to us in our life, whether it is good or bad, is happening because the Lord sanctioned it. Because it is happening as per Lord's desire. So this is a very important thing for us to remember. For everything, the cause is the Supreme Lord. So here it says, although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the supreme. A person who is dependent cannot be the supreme. A person who is independent can be the supreme. But the only person who is independent is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Karana Karanam. So we cannot be dependent. We cannot be independent. We are always dependent. And the example is given that according to one's previous fruitive, if one thinks like this, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. So it is not that I am given this body because of my father and mother alone. No. This is a karma mimamsa philosophy, is what Prabhupada is explaining here, that when a father creates the child, father may think that, okay, I want to create a child and I have a child. But no, actually, when a father creates a child, he does not do so independently. Although it appears it's my desire, with the help of my wife, I have a child. But no, it's written here, he cannot do independently. The father is induced to do so by the Supreme Lord. And as the Lord says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanni Vishnu. Mattas, I am in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So to do anything, I need knowledge, right? I need intelligence. So if that is coming from the Supreme Lord, very nicely, logically, Prabhupada is explaining, so anything that we are doing, the cause is the Supreme Lord. But that doesn't mean that we do anything whimsically and attribute the cause to the Supreme Lord. That also is important, which also is mentioned here. The reactions will be based on my karma, and I have a free will. But once I act, this is what is being spoken of, the actions and reactions. I am responsible, but it has been sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. So finally, basically what it is saying is that we must never be disturbed in any situation of life, because any situation that we are going through in life, the Lord has sanctioned it based on my own karma. But it has been sanctioned by the Lord. The same thought process is going on in the last few verses. So this is, unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who sits within everyone's heart, one cannot be induced to create anything. Something we create, we feel that, I made it, I did this happen. Actually, I did this with my intelligence. And that intelligence has been given to me by the Supreme Lord. So this is what Vritrasura is saying, that Indra, don't worry, fight. You fight your best, I am fighting my best. And the result is, it is the will of the Lord. So do your duty, I am doing my duty, and just be dependent on the Lord. Don't think that you are calculating that how to win the battle. You are trying to, make calculations, but let's not make any calculations. Let's just fight and depend on the Lord. So this is the whole theme of the verse, how we should be always dependent on the Lord. And this is exactly the teaching, the very fundamental, basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The philosophy of always remaining dependent, not becoming independent. Jiver Swarup hoy Nitya Krishna Das. Our constitutional position is to remain an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. And if we are to remain servant, how can a servant be independent? Servant means dependence. A very basic definition of servant is dependence. And this is self-realization. Self-realization that I am small, I am ever dependent on the Lord, and I should accept the plans of the Lord. And all relationships, if you see also in the material world, everyone is actually dependent on someone. A simple relationship, a child-father relationship. Finally, I may think I am the breadwinner, I am the owner. No, you are also dependent on the Supreme Lord. And this consciousness that I am not dependent, I am independent, I want to do things my way, I want to take control, that lording tendency is why we are here, and that is why we are unhappy, suffering. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of a child and a father. A child is always dependent on the father. And in that state of dependence lies the child's happiness. If the child leaves the home and wants to do things independently, thinking that he will be happy, the child will never be happy. And the Lord is always waiting for the child, the father is always waiting for the child to return home. And the father is ever ready to welcome his son. So all that we need to do is turn our face, just like a child decides, okay, now I want to go back home. Father will be so welcoming. But that desire, that true desire, I want to depend on my father. I want to be under the care and protection of my father. So similarly, we have to understand that there is no one in this material world except the Supreme Lord who is our real protector, who is our real well-wisher, who is the owner. This is why, so in the Bhagavad Gita, the 3-point peace formula, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachyati. The child will be happy, peaceful, Shanti, only if he returns back to his father and knows that his father is everything in his life for his happiness. So similarly, we have to understand that Krishna is the Bhokta, he is the only enjoyer, I am not the enjoyer. Sarva Loka, and he is the owner of everything. Krishna is the owner of everything. And Suhridam, he is a true friend, genuine friend who is really desires our good, who is really wishing. That's why even Prabhupada always signed off, yours ever well-wisher. Spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, they are our only well-wisher friends. So, always remaining under the shelter of Krishna, under the shelter of the spiritual master, feeling dependent will keep us happy. There was one devotee, he was serving Prabhupada as a servant. So Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and this devotee originally was from America. So he had come down to Vrindavan being Prabhupada's servant, and Prabhupada wasn't keeping so well. So this devotee was taking good care of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was happy with his service. But what happened, because the climate, America and India, Vrindavan, that devotee himself started falling sick. He contacted malaria, and then colitis, and then stomach problems, and then he was very disturbed because he was not keeping well. So thoughts started coming to him, I should go back to America because then I will become okay, I will regain my health. So he didn't know how to tell this to Prabhupada. He was feeling whether he's doing the right thing or not, and he was a little confused. So he thought, okay, let me tell it to Prabhupada's secretary. Secretary was Brahmananda Prabhu. So he told this to Brahmananda Prabhu that this is what is going on in my mind. Can you please sound this to Prabhupada? So then Prabhupada called him directly. Brahmananda said something, and then Prabhupada wanted to directly speak to him. So then he came and he stood in front of Prabhupada, this devotee, and then so Prabhupada said, "So you are not keeping well?" Very nicely Prabhupada spoke to him. He said, "Yes, Prabhupada, I have not been keeping well for the last few days, stomach problem, this, that." Okay. "So you want to go back to America?" So then he didn't know what to say. So he said, "Yes, Prabhupada, if it is all right with you." Very carefully wording, and if it is all right with you. So Prabhupada said, "Yes, why not? You must take care of your health." Prabhupada was speaking with a lot of love and compassion, and you must take care of your health. And had it not been for you, I would not have been living here comfortably. And now if you are unwell, how can I say anything? You must go back to America and take care of your health. Prabhupada spoke very nicely, gently, and then this devotee recalls that, and then he says, Prabhupada said that it's because of him that I am doing so well. You have kept me alive for so many days and months. So he was feeling very nice that Prabhupada was so grateful that he gave the credit to his servant. Of course, Prabhupada, nobody needs to maintain him, but still. So then he went back home, relieved that, okay, Prabhupada sanctioned it. He went back to his room, and then next day, in Vrindavan, outside the garden, in that house, there's a tamal tree there. So Prabhupada was sitting under the tamala tree, and this servant again went back, and he was sitting by the side of Prabhupada, little lower, by the side of his lotus feet. So then a thought started coming to him, because Prabhupada was like this, and he was sitting down there. So then a thought came to him, how can I leave Prabhupada's shelter and go back to America? I cannot imagine my fortune. I'm sitting by the side of the golden lotus feet of Prabhupada, and there's no sweeter place than this in the entire universe. So I cannot go back. This will be crazy. So then he again went back, and at that time he speaks to Prabhupada again, that Prabhupada, I don't think I should go back to America. I think, although Prabhupada had sanctioned it, I think I should just remain here and depend on Krishna and serve you. I don't want to lose this opportunity. I just want to depend on Krishna. And then Prabhupada said, yes, that is very good. Just depend on Krishna. And because, now here Prabhupada says something about, so Prabhupada could see that he was sincere. He had a problem. Prabhupada also sanctioned it. And then he himself comes back and he starts thinking, how can I leave the shelter of my spiritual master just because of some bodily ailments? This is not being dependent on Krishna. I'm serving the spiritual master. So then Prabhupada says, because you are sincere, Prabhupada noted that sincerity in him. Because you are sincere, Krishna will make all facilities for you. And you will be happy. Do not worry. So he recalls, that was a great lesson for me. I was relieved that I am doing the right thing by not going back, because he was a little confused. And Prabhupada has also sanctioned it. So be sincerely working and just be dependent on Krishna. Be dependent on him, on the spiritual master, and everything will be taken care in life. Now you see, this is a very good example. Sometimes we fall, and there are different situations that come in our Krishna consciousness in our life where our dependence is tested. Generally, dependence is tested when we are going through a rough phase in life. Right? The rough phase could be different kinds of rough phases. If you see, you see Pandava's life. Their whole life was fraught with, Vishan, Mahagne, Purushada, Darshanad, Asat Sabhaya, Vanavasa, Krichritaha. So many things, but constantly they dependent on Krishna. So whenever we go through these rough passage of life, we should remind ourselves, or we should remember, recall these incidences, these pastimes from the scriptures, and take inspiration from them. But generally, when we go through rough passages of patches of life, we forget all these things and we start making our own plans. We start thinking, oh, how to do this, how to do that, how. No, you do your duty. As a matter of duty, whatever has to be done can be done. But beyond a point, we cannot do anything. You see how Pandavas dependent on Krishna? You see how Parikshit Maharaj depended on Krishna? Depended on Krishna because Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die. And that also cursed wrongly. And Parikshit Maharaj could counter the curse. Just look at the situation of Parikshit Maharaj. Cursed wrongly to die, very extreme. And he could counter, but still he simply depended on Krishna. He said, I'll take it. Whatever Krishna desires, I'll have it. So when we have this consciousness, this thinking, then we'll be very peaceful, very happy. Whatever is happening in my life, Krishna is my, my Lord. If this is happening, then so be it. But I will go on with my Krishna consciousness. This is very important for a devotee. He should be steady. He should be persevering. He should be patient. Knowing well, Krishna has a plan. So one thing is, you go through all these, like how Parikshit went through, how Pandavas went through. The other thing is your health. Even for health, you see, Prabhupada knew he's not keeping well. Prabhupada knew that Vrindavan weather will not be suitable for devotees who have been living in Los Angeles. And Prabhupada sanctions it also for him to go back, but then he realized, and Prabhupada sanctions that also. So no matter what situation we are in, that's why bhakti is ahetuki apratihata, we must remember. There can be no material situation that can come in the way of bhakti. We must remember this always. Apratihata. If you're thinking that this particular situation, because of this situation, my bhakti is taking a back seat, no. It cannot. You just be dependent on Krishna, go on with your Krishna. No material situation can impede your bhakti. That's why it's apratihata. How can devotion to Lord be impeded by any material cause? It doesn't make sense at all. In fact, all material situations should propel your bhakti, isn't it? Because Lord is constantly making a plan for you to progress. Isn't it? Isn't that what the Lord is making? So if any material situation, Lord will make all situations around you adjust in a manner that you take to bhakti. So then how do we explain, but I am thinking that this situation is pulling me down and you're saying that situation is propelling my bhakti? Yes. Because sometimes Krishna will make an arrangement in your life in such a way that because we are not surrendering, because we are not feeling dependent on Krishna, Krishna will force you to be dependent on Him. So Krishna will create a situation in your life where now nothing can be done. I surrender. You have to depend on Krishna. There is no other option. And that is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. You have to surrender to me. You have to be dependent on me. So for devotees especially, Krishna will create situations where He will force you to surrender. So in a devotee's life, if something is going wrong, if something is not happening properly, whether it's his health or whether it's his personal life or whether it's whatever it is, you must take this as a special arrangement by the Supreme Lord. Understand that, oh, this is such a wonderful situation. Krishna has now put me in a situation where I have to force myself. So now one may think, okay, Krishna, for Pandavas, Krishna was there. And we have examples from the scriptures where Krishna was personally there. And they were all dependent on Krishna. Now how do I express my dependence on Krishna? So our dependence on, how do I is there a practical way by which I can prove my dependence on Krishna? What is the practical way? Krishna has sent his holy name. And if we simply hang on, tightly clasp his lotus feet, which is the chanting of the holy name, if we simply depend on the holy name in any situation of life, we will be protected, we will be happy. Sukhe dukhe bhulo nako vadane hari naam ko rore. Whether in distress or in happiness, sukhe dukhe, happiness or distress, bhulo nako, never forget the holy name. Vadane hari naam ko rore. Jai sakal vipad bhakti vinod bolen jokhun o naam gaye. All your vipad, everything will go away when you chant the holy name. So you see, Krishna is so merciful. He has given us this holy name which is non-different from him. And he says, just take shelter of the holy name. Taking shelter of the holy name is something very practical, very possible, very realistic, doable, easy, simple. So Krishna, so merciful, he has made all arrangements for us to practically depend on him. Just take shelter of the holy name in all circumstances of life, whether you're in happiness or in distress. And taking shelter of the holy name means chanting the holy name. And this chanting also, right? So what is happening when we are chanting right now? Our mind is very fickle, very flickering. Flickering and fickle, both. Fickle means it doesn't stay, I'm trying to depend on the holy name, but my mind is so fickle, it keeps moving left and I am not able to hear. But mind, from its fickle position, has to be at a position where it is fixed. Not fickle, but fixed at the holy name. When your mind becomes fixed at the holy name, then you will feel an ocean of ecstasy and you will feel complete. You will feel that the Lord is right there taking care of you. In any situation, no difficulty in this world will bother you. So to move the mind from this fickle to this fixed position, we have to, as Prabhupada puts nicely in another lecture, just like Krishna, he forces surrender just to, to pull you out of that. We have to also force this holy name inside us. So, and that's why Prabhupada called this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is the forced chanting, is the forced method to control your fickle mind and make it fixed. Now, why force? Force is not good, isn't it? But no, force is good when the result is good. Prabhupada gave so many examples. Prabhupada gave an example of himself. When he was a small boy, he was supposed to take some medicine. And, Prabhupada was not wanting to take that medicine. And so his father and mother held him and forced him the medicine. And why forced? Because it is desirable. About 10 days back, I was in a hospital. Not a hospital, it was a diagnostic center. So we were waiting for the doctor, and we were sitting on the lobby. And then suddenly, we started hearing loud screaming voice of, and then, everybody got alerted. It was some few of us were sitting in that lobby, and this voice is loudly somebody. And then because it was coming out so loud, I just got up from my place, and the voice was coming from just nearby, and I just walked a few steps, and that There was a small room there. The room was open, the door was open. And there was a boy, he was about 10 years old. Very healthy and strong boy. 10 years old boy can be really strong. And he had to undergo some tests, so some blood was being drawn from his hand. So I saw, why was he screaming? Because, 10-year-old boy is not grown up so much. He can feel the pain of the injection. So he was screaming loudly. And why screaming? 4 people were holding him. The father was holding the head. One nurse was holding the whole chair. It was like that. The nurse was holding the body. Another 2 nurses were holding the legs. And then the mother was holding the hand like this. Here and here. 2 hands she was holding tight. And another nurse was drawing the blood. So I also got a little alarmed. I'd never seen like this. 4 people were holding him, and then, a nurse is drawing and screaming on top of his voice. Whole hospital got alerted, forced upon him. And the boy was crying, "Mommy, leave me, leave me, leave me." And mommy is not leaving. And then finally the whole thing got over, and then he, cooled off, and then he came off, and mother is feeding him water and this boy is still crying, "Mommy, you forced me so much, you forced me so much. There was so much of pain, you know how much pain I went through?" And then the mother is saying, "Beta, you are saying you went through pain. You don't know how much pain I went through to hold you in that position." The mother was, with a 10-year-old boy, 2 hands she is forcing herself upon. So you see, force is required when necessary. And because we have become Krishna Bahirmukha Jeev, we have turned our way from Krishna, and Maya Jap, and Maya is waiting to grab us. So unless we take to this Krishna consciousness very seriously and force ourselves with this holy name, chant nicely, it will be very difficult to come out. And this is Krishna, this is the simple instruction that Krishna has given. I have given you everything. Now take this holy name and you will be out of all difficulties. Just depend on this holy name. And another very important thing, while we are talking of this forcing this whole, so what is this meaning of this forcing the holy name? Why is it said, why force? Because during chanting, mind is fickle. Mind will keep going here and there. It is very difficult to concentrate into the hearing process. It is not so easy. Of course, there's a process to do it. So this force is nothing but we have to train our mind, that background consciousness. We have to train our mind that during chanting time, my 2 hours, I'm not going to do anything. And as soon as the mind goes away from the hearing, I'm going to bring it back. As soon as my mind goes away from hearing, I'm going to bring it back. This should be the only focus of a devotee and nothing else. And this requires practice. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagye cha grihiyate. Abhyasa. So this abhyasa, Prabhupada says, actually, if you want to achieve something, a little struggle is required. It is not so easy. It is both easy and difficult, depends on how much sincere we are. If you are sincere, then this forced method is not difficult. It is very simple. It is very sincere. That desire should be there. I want to get out of this material world. I don't want, I have had enough of this material world. Prabhupada says in one place, we are talking of force. Force means you should be determined. But simply determination is one thing, and then Prabhupada gives another word which we have to remember. We have to become detestful of this material world. There is no happiness. There's not even a drop of happiness in this material world. So when you're detestful of this material world And then, because if you become detached, that's why Krishna puts you in a situation that you become detestful, that you become dependent. Finally, just like, you raise your hands, you become dependent. So, become detestful, and then when you're like that, your determination will become strong. But, if you have a plan, that no, this material world is very nice, this is also good, let me try this, let me try that, let me have a good arrangement for my practice of Krishna consciousness only sometimes. Yes, make a good arrangement for your practice of Krishna consciousness, but that practice of Krishna consciousness with determination, with, with seriousness is in the forefront. Everything else is secondary. Those things cannot be in the forefront. The secondary things cannot become the primary. I have to simply depend on the Holy. Do my duty, whatever is required, but don't be too much dependent on that. That is like crossing the line, crossing the limit. I have to put all my energy, all my focus into chanting the holy name. So, we have to be completely, dependent and with a, very feelingly chant. And Maya is forcing us. And if we are, so there's a quote here. One devotee is asking, Prabhupada, how will it be possible, Prabhupada, for a man whose mind is clouded, our minds are clouded, to constantly chant Hare Krishna, a man who's always thinking thoughts about family, friends, country, nation? Very practical question. Prabhupada, yes. Think of, at the same time, chant. Two things will go on, and this will conquer. What will conquer? Chanting. As Maya is forcing you to drag you from this Krishna consciousness, you also force Maya by chanting Hare Krishna. There is a fight, and Maya will go away. Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mamevai prapadyante maya metam tarantite. This Maya is very strong. She will force you, entice you to other path. But you do not stop. You chant loudly. Just like Haridas Thakur was chanting, Maya could not victimize her. So chant loudly is the message here. What was Haridas's stand? Simply chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Maya could not entice. Maya failed. Maya became his disciple. He did not become Maya's disciple. So this is a tug of war. So don't be afraid of Maya. Simply enhance chanting and you will be the conqueror. That's all. Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bibhyati. We are not afraid of Maya because Krishna is there. Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. You just declare, my devotees will never be vanquished by Maya. Maya cannot do anything. Simply, you have to become strong. And what is that strength? Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, loudly. Yes. So we just, as Sanatana Goswami says, Jivanam, this is my life and soul. Whenever there is any danger, just remember the holy name, depend on this. Depending on this is chanting and hearing, and then every danger, there'll be no danger remaining at all in our life. And if danger is still persisting, we have to continue taking shelter of the holy name. We must remember that. Not that I've taken shelter of the holy name, but the danger is still there, it's not being. No, you cannot question. That means we have not yet come to the level of perfection. Continue taking its shelter. This is what is called persevering. And then Krishna will take care of us, the holy name will take care of us. Everything will be resolved in our life. So we have to just depend on the holy name and then just leave it to Krishna. And Krishna is there, he is our best friend, and he will ensure the devotees' well-being. So we'll end here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.